The topic is As Soft as Cotton, and we're talking to the author, Judge JCarter-Ball, who has given us some information relative to the novel itself, in addition to some information about how you became involved in writing this novel, Judge. Go on.
Yes, Dr. Hay, let me say first of all that As Soft as Cotton is a tribute to African American women. And writing a novel had been a dream of mine for many years, as was going to law school. And this is how it began. My family and I moved from Richmond, Virginia to Memphis many years ago after my husband was offered a position that we thought was a great opportunity, and he accepted it. I had always wanted to go to law school. I was accepted after college, but as I said earlier, I wasn't in a position to go at that particular time. And after we moved to Memphis, I got a job in a hospital as a social worker. But I still wanted to go to law school, and I discussed this with my husband. And so after we got settled, I applied to the University of Mississippi School of Law. And I still remember that day in April when I received my acceptance letter. And at that particular time, we'd only been in our new home a few months. Our daughters were very young, and we didn't have any family in Tennessee. And so when my husband came home from work that evening, I showed him the letter, and I asked him if I could quit my job and go to law school. Well, this was his response. He looked at me, and he said, Joyce, I know this is something you've always wanted to do. And it may be a struggle for us, but I think you should go for it.
Good.
And that is what I did. And that fall, I was off to law school. Now, that first year, I had all 8 o'clock classes. And that was pretty scary because Oxford, Mississippi is approximately 90 minutes from where we were living at that time. And I didn't intend to be late for class, so this is what we did. We had a plan. Every night, I helped my daughters decide what they wanted to wear to school the next day. And the next morning, I got them up early, and I helped Jamie get dressed. Jamie was 4 at the time, and Ashley was 8. And she said she didn't need my help. My husband prepared breakfast, and he took the girls to school. In order for me to get to class on time, I left my home every day, Monday through Friday, literally at the crack of dawn. And now, I'm a Southern girl. As I said, I was born and raised in Virginia, where there are lots of tobacco fields, corn fields, soybean fields, peanut fields, you name it. But I had never seen cotton plants.
Okay.
As I traveled from Memphis to Oxford, I saw several cotton fields along Highway 78. And in the fall, at the crack of dawn, the ground appeared to be covered with a blanket of snow. The sight was captivating, mesmerizing.
I've seen it before.
Beautiful. Now, one of my classmates asked me if I could pick her up some mornings, and she lived in nearby Holly Springs. And as I traveled to her house, I passed several beautiful antebellum homes. Well, her name is Saran, and Saran knew the history of some of the families who lived in those homes. And we talked about this as we traveled to school. And I had plenty of time to think as I traveled to and from school, 90 minutes each way, every day. I thought about everything from what to prepare for dinner, my next PTA meeting, my next school trip with my daughters, my reading assignments, my papers to write. I thought about how fortunate I was to be able to quit a job and go to law school full-time. I also thought about how unfortunate our ancestors had been to be forced to live as slaves. I thought about the pain and the suffering that they endured in those cotton fields and stately homes. And suddenly, the sight of cotton fields and antebellum homes wasn't so fascinating, so captivating anymore. Most days I left Oxford early enough to pick up my daughters from school. And after school, they had so much to talk about. And I listened as they shared their day with me. They had dinner, they did their homework, and then I put them to bed. And after the girls went to bed, I settled down to prepare for my classes the next day. Then, in an effort to unwind and to release stress, I wrote. I wrote about my thoughts and feelings. I wrote about the pressure of being a law student, a wife, a mother, PTA president, and my other obligations. I wrote about my daughters. I wrote about what I wanted for my daughters and what I thought the future might hold for them. I also wrote about what I thought it may have been like to be a slave, living on a plantation in Holly Springs. I wrote about what I thought it may have been like to be confined to a plantation with no freedom to leave, to pursue goals and dreams, to work from sunup to sundown, to hurt, to suffer, and then to somehow find the strength to get up the next morning and face a new day. And many, many years later, after our younger daughter was off to college, we packed her up, we took her to school, we got her settled, and my husband and I came home to an empty nest. And that's when I pulled out those notes and I read through everything that I had written. And those notes would become my first novel.
Very good. And of course, you're going to talk about
yes,
that,
right.
other aspects of that,
yes.
Judge, when we come back following this next commercial break.
Sure.
And of course, this is the kind of information that we wanted that will lead up to this last segment where we will have about 8 or 9 minutes to talk about it.
Sure.
And of course, we'll be back with our audience following this very, very short commercial break.
In 19...
The topic is, as